Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 16. We have a lot of things to get through like we always do in this type of video, but before I get into my score for Game Week 15, my plans for Game Week 16 and anything in between, basically the free hits and also the manager of the week, I'm going to talk slightly about the assistant manager chip that we have got now. The mystery chip has been revealed and it is actually the assistant manager chip, or ASMAN chip for short. Quite like the name, not sure if I like the concept just yet, still haven't really put too much thought into it, so yeah, I'm not going to comment too much on it. We still have to wait for Game Week 24 before we can use it, at least. But yeah, it seems like a pretty powerful chip, so I think it's going to be pretty important to know how to use it. Probably going to spend some more time getting into potential avenues for using the chip as well in the future, whether you should use it in a double game week or whether you should save those game weeks for the chips that you do have currently. I think it's a big advantage to those that use their triple captaincy chip already in Game Week 2, for example. If you got 17 points from Holland there, I think this opens up another window for using a chip, because the assistant manager chip cannot be used in conjunction with other chips on top of that. So yeah, I think personally I'm not going to use it in a double game week, but I still have to make more of an effort to look into how the assistant manager chip could actually work and where it could potentially work best currently. So yeah, for me, it's going to be interesting to see how people use it, whether they use it on a team that's really good, expecting 3 wins and a lot of goals and stuff, or if they want to use it on a team that has potential to get those tasty bonus points from beating a team that is 5 places or more above them in the table. So yeah, plenty of things to discuss with this. First thought for me is using it in game weeks 27 through 29 for either Brentford, if I want to go with the team that's like lower down in the table that can still score a lot of goals and beat teams that are higher in the table than them, or use it on Man City, who could also be in that similar situation, because game week 27 through 29 are pretty good game weeks for Manchester City, or they could face some teams that they are expected to beat but could still be 5 places above them at that moment in time. I think they face Spurs, Nottingham Forest and Brighton, 3 teams that are around them in the table, and there could be the fact that we have City 5 places below them at that point of the season. And this is going to be basically like later on in the season, February, March type of deal. So I think Man City at that point will have figured something out and will be a much better team than what their table situation suggests. And that is also following like a pretty tough slate of matches for Man City. So I think they might be further down in the table than what they should be at that moment in time. So if Man City could potentially get some bonus points from beating the likes of Spurs, Brighton and Nottingham Forest at that point, I think that would be a really nice place to use the chip. If not, I think Brentford is a pretty good candidate in that same time frame as well. Yeah, like I said, I think I'm going to use it outside of a double game week, but I still have to think about that. Depends what everything else looks like. It seems like now we're going to get a double game week in Game Week 24, by the looks of it, with the Liverpool fixture, Liverpool against Everton slotting into that game week, which is also going to factor into my plans for this game week, actually, in Game Week 16 that I'm going to talk about at the end of this video. But yeah, just wanted to address the assistant manager chip first, because I haven't really talked about it yet. But yeah, I still have to look more into it, and we still have more time to figure out what to do with it, because Game Week 24 is the first game week we can use it. So yeah, we still got plenty of time. Interesting that we at least know what it is now. You can sort of plan for it. You have to have some money left in the budget as well. It's between 0.5 and 1.5 in terms of the cost of the manager that you want to buy. And when you activate the chip, it doesn't cost you a transfer as well. So I think it's a really powerful chip. I think it's pretty important to use it as well. But how to use it exactly, we'll still got to figure out at some point, basically. But yeah, that's that out of the way. I addressed that chip. I'm going to talk more about it in the coming weeks, I'm guessing, or at least closer to the deadline for when we can use it. It's going to be more interesting to see the best possible uses of that chip. But first and foremost, let's get into what you're actually here for, and that is my team selection video. Starting with my Game Week 15 score, which was not the best, 54 points. Quite unhappy with that overall, but mostly I was pretty happy that I got saved a little bit in the final game of the season, or match of the, not game of the season, the final match of the game week, where Jared Bowen got 12 points. I also got 4 points from Nuri. Cunha didn't really provide much with 1 point, but yeah, I managed to claw back some of the points that I lost the previous days. And the main downside of the game week was obviously not captaining Palmer. I thought I had a good chance to captain Watkins at home to Southampton. He's a penalty taker, playing at home to Southampton, who are a really bad team. And it did, like, if you look at the actual match, Watkins got like 2 or 3 decent chances to get goals or assists in that game, even though he only played like 30 minutes. So first and foremost, he didn't start. That was a big downside, obviously. When he didn't start, I was hoping he was going to just be out for the entirety of the game. They were going to rest him. I'm going to use John Duran for the entirety of the game, but they swapped him in with like 35 minutes left and gave Duran like 55 minutes, which I didn't really understand at all. And then they followed up with using him 45 minutes in the Champions League before they subbed him off again. So yeah, quite unhappy with Unai Emery this game week because of my failed captaincy. But at the same time, I should have known that was a possibility. I should have known that Palmer had a really good game week and he had good chances to get some points there. He was going to play 70 plus minutes at least. So yeah, regret that captaincy decision, obviously. I haven't had the most luck with captaincy the last few game weeks after I had that, I think it was game week, what is it now, game week 11 or game week 10, when I had 17 points for my Bruno Fernandes captaincy. Ever since then, I've missed on captaincy every single game week. First, Palmer against, was it Leicester, when he got a blank, got 2 points, didn't get a goal or an assist in that 2-1 win. And then I captained Salah when Palmer actually outscored him. And then I captained Palmer again the game week after that when Palmer got 7 points against Southampton, and Salah got a huge score in that game week. And then now I didn't captain Palmer again because I had some bad experiences captaining Palmer in the game weeks prior. So yeah, captaincy has gone completely the wrong way. But considering I've had 4 failed captaincies in a row, which has cost me about 40 points, I think. I think I actually gathered up the totals there, and I think 40 points has been lost from captaincy. If I just captained Salah for the 3 first game week and first game weeks that I talked about in those last 4, and then Palmer in this last one, I would have had 40 more points. But considering all of that, the fact that I'm still 231k, I'm pretty happy about that in general. That's mostly down to Bowen, like I said, 12 points from him, 9 points from Bruno Fernandes. Those differential picks have been working out pretty well for me. And even last game week in game week 14, I had Watkins getting 12 points as well, so shouldn't be too unhappy with Watkins in particular, but he should have probably had more points in this past game. But yeah, that's what happens sometimes. But yeah, I had Palmer at least in the team. I had Bruno Fernandes with 9 points. I had also Bowen with 12 points. That helped me a lot, and Aitnouri with 4 points. So, and Lewis as well with 4 points, despite the red card that I got, which is, yeah, not the best for me. But yeah, all in all, not that happy with the game week, but I'm happy that I managed to have some damage limitation towards the end of the game week at the very least. But yeah, first and foremost, however, game week 15 started up with the fixture between Liverpool and Everton being postponed. At first I figured that's a good thing for me because I have the triple captaincy chip left. I want to use that on Salah in a double game week, and I'm probably going to be able to do that now. But at the same time, that also meant that I lost 2 players, Salah and Mykolenko, who weren't able to play. And then the fact that Greaves didn't even play and Gabriel wasn't fit to start either, that meant that I only had 10 players available for this game week. So yeah, sort of have to value more some bench options in defense, and that's going to be addressed in game week 16 because I do have 2 free transfers now because I didn't do a single transfer for this game week, which was actually one of the few positives of game week 15. I had 2 opportunities, so 2 possibilities. One of them was selling, I think it would have been Mykolenko, or I don't know. It would have been selling one of my defenders for potentially Aitnouri even for Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that wouldn't have worked out because Trent didn't play at all. Or the other option that I had was selling Bruno Fernandes for Saka, and Saka got 2 points, Bruno Fernandes got 9 points, so I actually earned 7 points and kept my transfer by not doing that either. So yeah, at least not doing any transfers and having 2 free transfers for next game week is going to help me in the future. But all in all, the game week was not a success, and yeah, not too happy with the last few game weeks, but my rank, again, is decent at this moment in time. So yeah, let's move on to the next thing on that I'm going to talk about in this video, and that is the free hit draft that I had for this past game week as well. So let's take a look at what I thought was going to be the ideal team going into game 15. And again, this was picked before the Liverpool-Everton game was postponed. So yeah, my captain Salah auto-subbed off. In comes Enzo Fernandez, who actually got 9 points. Pretty happy that I selected him before it was sort of cool to choose Enzo Fernandez. That proves that I have actually paid attention to him, and he's actually a decent, I knew he was a decent prospect before he became like a thing on FPL Twitter and stuff. So that was 9 points in the free hit draft. Also, Trent had to be auto-subbed off, and then Digne came in, and he didn't even start either for Aston Villa. So that Aston Villa-Southampton game was not the best game to target this game week. And I sort of regret that decision in terms of the free hit draft in general. But 59 points for the free hit draft, despite not having a good captain here either. I had Watkins vice captain, so that meant, again, 2 points from Watkins, which was not ideal at all. But I had Palmer, Fernandes, and Bowen in this team as well, compared to my own team. Also had the 9 points from Enzo, so that took the score up to 59 points, 5 points more than I actually got with my own team. So that means that still my free hit overall rank is better than my current actual rank. The free hit overall rank, because I do this free hit draft every single game week. I've done this every single game week this season, and using the point scores, the score totals from those free hits put together, I would have 962 points at this point in the season with 108,000 or 108k rank currently if I was able to do free hits every game week. So yeah, but anyways, when it comes to the differentials, Watkins was obviously not the best differential, seeing as he didn't start against Southampton. But at the same time, like I said previously, he could have had so many points, especially if he had started that game against Southampton. He had several chances in the 35 plus minutes that he played, or 30-ish minutes that he played. So yeah, kind of unlucky with that. Kirk is against Ipswich as well. I thought they were going to keep a clean sheet, but it didn't. And the defenders this game week weren't really the best either. But yeah, all in all, not the best free hit draft either, obviously. The captaincy is such a huge part of both my own team and free hit draft this game week, so it didn't really work out at all. But now let's go put the bad teams, my own team, and the free hit draft that I made for Game 15 in the past, and let's look at someone that actually did really well this past game week, and that is the manager of the week. And the manager of the week this week is Colin Farfarov, who got 88 points. Really, really good game week in general. Did one free transfer, Mikolenko to Timber. That didn't really earn him any points. 2 points from Timber because Arsenal conceded against Fulham. But at least he sold Mikolenko, I guess, who didn't play. So he did get some points, because otherwise he would have had only 2 defenders, which was the same case for me. But yeah, the main things about this team, obviously, is Palmer captain. That was the main part of this game week in general. Palmer was by far the best captaincy choice. He also, on top of that, had Bowen with 12 points and Mbeumo with 13 points. Really rare to see both Bowen and Mbeumo in the same team, because most people, like myself, sold Mbeumo to get Bowen. So having both was obviously a huge benefit for this manager this game week. Also up front, having Havertz, who got an assist for Arsenal, 5 points for him, and Wood, who scored for Nottingham Forest in that game against Man United with 8 points. And that was enough to get 88 points overall, which was the most this game week for any other managers in the FPL School Mini League. So that means that Colin Farfarov is the manager of the week. So if you want to be the manager of the week in the FPL School Mini League, you can also join, or if you want to be the manager of the week and be featured on a video like Colin Farfarov is being right now, you can join the FPL School Mini League with the league code hpxeri. And if you have the highest score in one particular game week, you'll get featured on a video or on the podcast like Colin Farfarov is right now, basically. So yeah, overall I think the team is looking pretty good. I don't think there's that many duds. There's obviously some players missing that would be considered sort of essential or template currently, in terms of Saka, Isak, for example. Those 2 players are the 2 main ones missing. Trent is not here either, but I like the double Arsenal defense. I like the Palmer pick, obviously. Salah, you have the essential players at least. In my eyes, Nicholas Jackson is going to be good for a few game weeks. I think Havertz is actually a decent alternative to Saka as well. Saka is obviously a bit better, but he's also quite a bit more expensive. So yeah, I don't mind Havertz. I also quite like Wood for the foreseeable future as well. We're going to discuss it more on the plans for Game Week 16 with the Manager of the Week, which we can actually jump to right now. So this is the team currently for Game Week 16 for the Manager of the Week. Really solid game week in general, I think, in terms of the fixtures. A lot of home matches, only Bowen playing away from home and Flecken in goal playing away from home. Didn't really touch on the goalkeeper situation either, because Flecken and Valdemarson, two Brentford goalkeepers, isn't ideal for the foreseeable future, but I don't really think it's that big of an issue either. I don't think you need to use a free transfer for that. I think Flecken can do pretty well in upcoming game weeks, and he did actually get a clean. He didn't get a clean sheet, but he got an assist this past game week, which was really interesting to see in general. So yeah, but the main things about this team for next game week, I think, is the starting position between Mbeumo and Semenyo. You're going to have to make a decision there. There's also like the slight issue, if Gabriel is not ready to play, you would have to play the lot against Man City away. And Honestly, I don't think it's the worst fixture. I think Dalot's going to concede, but he might actually get a attacking return potentially. I don't know. It's not the best candidate to have this game week, but I don't think it's the worst either. And there is still that slight chance of Gabriel starting and you not needing Dalot in general. So you could do Dalot to someone like Kirkus, for example, from Bournemouth, or Munoz from Crystal Palace. You could do that if you don't feel too certain that Gabriel is going to start and you don't want to play Dalot. But I don't think it's something that you need to do anyway. Also, very little flexibility with this team. Obviously, 0.0 in the bank, 1 free transfer. You don't really get less flexible than that in general. But I don't think it's that big of a deal either, because I think your team is actually looking pretty good. So, yeah, there is the most likely scenario, I think, for you is just standing pat and having the team that you have and hoping that Gabriel starts, and you'll have a pretty good game week in general, I think. But if you want to be a bit more bold and do some, or not bold really, because you are picking some pretty template picks in that regard and selling some non-template picks, I guess. But if you want to be more aggressive with it and you're not afraid to use -4s and do transfers that you don't have for free, then you could do Mbeumo to Enzo, and that will give you enough money to do Wood to Isak. But honestly, I don't think selling Wood is the best idea currently, especially not for a -4. I think he could easily match Isak this game week, or at least match him with the 4 points in the bag already from not doing the transfer. And yeah, I think Wood is perfectly fine for the future. I think Mbeumo could have a good game week at home in game week 17 as well, so I don't think it's too important to sell him. I think you have a pretty good starting lineup already. Semenyo against West Ham should be a decent starter as well. Really like Bowen, obviously, long term. I like Palmer, I like Salah, I like Jackson, I like Havertz, I like Wood as well. So yeah, I don't think you need to do any transfers, and I think for the foreseeable future as well, I think you're actually in a pretty good position with your team. I think you don't really have that many duds. Obviously, Greaves is not the best backup defender. You don't have the best goalkeepers, but that's the least important parts of the squad as well, like the goalkeeper and the 5th defender, basically. So apart from that, I think your team is actually looking pretty good. So I would just save my transfers probably for the foreseeable future as well. Bowen has a couple good game weeks left before in game week 19. I think he has some pretty dreadful fixtures, and that's when you can sell him. I think Eze is someone that you can pick up at that point in game week 19. He could be a really nice differential as well. I think Crystal Palace and Eze could be a really good match eventually. Same with Munoz in defense. Aït-Nouri for Munoz could also be a future transfer that you can do once Aït-Nouri's fixtures dry up. But other than that, I don't think there's really that many issues with your team. Maybe Havertz to one of the other strikers around that same price bracket. There are some really interesting strikers around there. But for the next 3 fixtures, Arsenal playing at home to Everton, away to Crystal Palace, and then at home to Ipswich, I think I would just keep Havertz for those 3 game weeks as well. And I think Wood is also a decent long-term hold. There are a lot of good potential strikers to get, but I don't really think there's a rush to sell either Wood or Havertz either, even though they are kind of outside the norm players. So yeah, I think you have a pretty decent potential points tally in the future. You are 1.5 million rank currently, which is not the best, but at the same time, it's not really that bad either. You can still get into the top 100k in my opinion, quite easily as well, or probably. I don't know how many points it is between you and top 100k at this moment in time, but yeah, I think your team is pretty good. You've only used 1 chip so far, the wildcarding in week 6, like myself. So I think you're in a pretty good position in general to yeah, have a pretty good team. Obviously not the best flexibility, but I think your squad is really in really good shape currently, so I don't really think you need to do that many changes. But yeah, if you want to be aggressive, if you have a lot of faith in Isak, which I do for what it's worth, and you don't really mind using the -4, then do the Enzo Isak move. That could be really good for this game week in particular, with Enzo playing against Brentford at home. But I don't think Semenyo against West Ham at home is that much worse than Enzo. It could actually be better as well, because Semenyo has been good in the past, at least, even though he's been not as good as he was at the start of the season this year. But yeah, all in all, I think you have a pretty good team. Happy that you got a good game week last time around, and hopefully you can continue to climb the ranks as the weeks go along, especially if you're actually watching this content. And yeah, if you are watching this right now, please comment down below and let me know. It's always nice to hear from the managers of the week and hear their plans as well, and their own outlook of the team. And I can also give you more feedback if you're actually watching and you need and if you have some worries about your team that I haven't addressed in this video, basically. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I hope all of you guys watching as well want to be in the manager of the week and you are in the FPL Score mini league. So please join the league if you haven't already. You can also subscribe if you haven't already. That would also be really nice. With that out of the way, that was the manager of the week. Thank you for watching that. I'm not finished with the video, so don't click off the video just yet, because we have a couple more things to attend to. First and foremost, we're going to look at the free hit draft for Game Week 16. I'm going to make a free hit draft every single game week on this channel, and this week is no different. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the Game Week 16 plans for myself as well, which are quite expensive, or not expensive. It is quite expensive, but it is quite expensive. I actually have some transfers to do this time around. So yeah, let's go into the free hit draft for Game Week 16. And this is currently the team that I think is the best team possible for Game Week 16 as I see it right now. I'll start in goal with David Raya against Everton at home. I think Arsenal would keep a clean sheet in this game, so I've doubled up with Raya and Saliba in defense. Saliba is the safest player there. He's going to play 100%. He's been scoring lately as well, so maybe he can keep that up. I think it's just the safest defender to have on top of Raya, obviously. I think both of them are going to play, and I think both have a really good chance of keeping a clean sheet against an Everton team that struggled to score. So that's basically it for Arsenal. I think they're really good defensively, and I think Everton is a team that has matches where it's usually like 1-0, 0-0, that type of deal. And I think that bodes well for the likes of Raya and Saliba in that game. I have Trent Alexander-Arnold against Fulham at home. It is quite a tricky fixture because Fulham are pretty decent, but at least it's at Anfield. So I think it's still a really good fixture for Liverpool. And they've actually been really good in the past against Fulham as well. So I think Trent is a really nice player to have currently. I'll talk more about him in the future plans for myself as well, because he is someone that I have considered quite heavily, and part of that is because I think he has a really good game week now against Fulham at home. I think he could really do well in that game week, even though it is quite a tough fixture against a pretty tough team, at least in Fulham, but at least it's at home. Then we have Ait-Nouri, who I think both Ait-Nouri and Cunha playing against Ipswich at home. It's basically do or die for these Wolves players who have been kind of disappointing lately. Ait-Nouri at least got an assist last time around, didn't get a yellow card, so he's ready to play for Game Week 16 as well. I think Ipswich at home is a decent fixture, but Ipswich are a team that usually score a goal or potentially two, so maybe not a clean sheet because Wolves tend to concede, but maybe Ait-Nouri can get some attacking returns like he did last time around, and maybe you can get really lucky. He gets a rare clean sheet on top of an attacking return, and you get a high score, and that would be ideal, obviously. So yeah, Ait-Nouri, just for the fixture there, Ipswich at home, and the price that he is still pretty cheap, so I think he is a really good choice there. In midfield, Salah and Palmer, obviously, both of them are there. I think Salah, personally, is what I'm going to go for as captain, but I haven't really been the best when it comes to captaincy the past few game weeks. But Salah plays against Fulham, and Fulham aren't full strength. Anderson is out already with an injury in central defense. Callum Bassey is also out, suspended, so they're going to play Issa Diop, and I don't even know who the second defender is now that Tim Ream is gone, I think. So yeah, I think they're going to be having a pretty good time against the Fulham defense. I think Fulham will set up pretty defensively minded though in this game, so maybe that's going to be a downside to Salah. But again, if Liverpool score early, I think all bets are off, and they could easily win this game by quite a bit of a margin as well. So yeah, quite like Salah. I like Palmer quite a lot as well, obviously playing as Brentford at home. I think that's a really nice fixture when it comes to scoring goals. This could be another like 4-goal Palmer haul, like if he's shown in the past. He could get a penalty. Brentford concede a lot of goals, but we've seen Brentford in the past as well against Fulham, by the way, away from home. They set up really defensively and played like a really deep team, and if Chelsea are facing that, I think it's tougher for Palmer to get points. He's shown that in the 2 game weeks that I have captained him against Leicester and Southampton, played more defensive type of sides and sort of struggled a bit more in those games. So all in all, I think Salah is slightly preferred to Palmer, but seeing as they have pretty good matches at home, both of them, a really good match at home for Palmer, and they're both in super good form, you have to have both of them. One of them has to be your captain as well. It's just a matter of who you prefer for that game. But I think Salah, just go into FPL, check out Salah's past few game weeks. I think if he played last game week against Everton, he probably would have scored a goal or two, gotten like 10 plus points, and I think it would be like the auto captain for most people, because that's what most people said after game 14, that from now on just pick Salah every single game week. But with Palmer getting 18 points, Salah not playing, a lot of managers have been swayed to choose Palmer because he has a better fixture, and I get that. But yeah, I think Salah is still the best captain's option. But like I said previously, I haven't been the most reliable when it comes to captaincy picks, so maybe you want to go against me, which has been a good tactic the last few game weeks. Jared Bowen, I'm going to give him the chance again as the favorite differential in midfield. He's looked really good the last 2 game weeks. Really should have had a high score against Leicester in game week 14. Then he got a pretty good score against the Wolves this past game week in game week 15. He is pretty lethal. He has a really good track record in FPL. West Ham are looking slightly better, I guess. Lopetegui is still under pressure. They still need to perform. And Bowen is in a pretty good moment in time now. He's going to play as like the number 9 as well. Most of the game seems like. Fulkrug didn't even play last time around. So I think Bowen is once again going to line up as a striker, which could be even beneficial for him. He's also going to be the penalty taker as long as Paqueta is not on the pitch. And Paqueta hasn't really been playing lately. Carlos Soler has played more for West Ham. So yeah, Bowen has that penalty thing mostly for like the first 60 minutes before Paqueta comes on, and then Paqueta will be the penalty taker from that point on. But yeah, I think Bowen just has a lot of upside in general, and I quite like him currently in FPL, so he's also in the free draft. And then Enzo Fernandez, another player that's looked really good. I had him in the free draft last time around off the bench with 9 points. That was really beneficial to the free draft in game week 15. And I think against Brentford at home, he has a really good chance of getting some more points as well. I first noticed him when I watched the game when I had Palmer as captain against Leicester. Nicholas Jackson and Enzo got 1 goal, 1 assist each. And I think that could happen again in this type of game as well. I think Brentford are pretty similar to Leicester in that regard. I'm going to line up kind of similarly. So I think Enzo could have a really good game week again. He's really offensively minded, especially the last few game weeks. He's been taking up really good positions in the box. So I think he's a really nice cut price option for this game against Brentford at home, which is, again, a really nice fixture. So I've tripled up actually on Chelsea players here with Jackson as well up front. So yeah, I think the last like 4 game weeks, I think this trio probably has like an average score of like 5 or 6 points per game. Probably. I haven't really done the math on that, but it seems like at least 2 of them get a nice amount of points the last few game weeks, and I think that's going to continue this game week. I think probably all 3 scoring a lot of points is going to be like not really that plausible, but 2 of them scoring decent amount of points is going to be a pretty good chance of happening. So yeah, I quite like having all 3 in the team for that matter. And they could easily score 4 or 5 goals against Brentford. We've seen that in the past as well. Cunha against Ipswich at home. I'm going to give him another chance. I think Cunha, after being on fire and scoring every single thing and being like a standout pick, this is the time that he needs to prove that he has been worth keeping the last few game weeks, because the past 3 game weeks has been pretty bad for Cunha. Ipswich at home, though, I think is a really nice fixture for him to really show his worth and get some goals and assists again like he's proven in the past. So I think he's a pretty good striker to have as well this game week. And then finally, Alexander Isak, who is in terrific form. He's the penalty taker. Wilson is not going to play. He's injured for quite a while. I think Isak is a really good pick to have this game week as well. So he's the final striker in the starting 11 for this free draft. Then on the bench, Fabianski is always in as the goalkeeper, the cheapest playing goalkeeper that you can choose, basically. Don't really need him because Raya's going to play anyway. Then we have Amad Diallo as the first sub off the bench. And I think he's actually I think Man United are actually going to be like, you see that Man City away fixture and you think like, oh, that's terrible. But Man City have won a single game out of the last 10 matches that they've had in all competitions. Like, they are really there for the taking. They are conceding a lot of goals. Amad Diallo is involved in pretty much everything Man United do offensively, even though he's playing like a wing-back role. So I think he's actually a pretty decent player off the bench if you need him to come off the bench. So yeah, quite like Amad in the first sub position there. Also had Lewis Hall from Newcastle as the second sub, playing against Leicester at home. I think there's a decent chance for clean sheets, some chances for attacking returns as well, with Hall being a pretty attacking left back who is also on some corners and stuff. So I think he's a decent first defender to have on the bench. And finally, just Ben Johnson to make up the numbers. Basically, he's the cheapest possible guy. He played 90 minutes last time around, so maybe he can live up to that preseason hype and actually get some returns as the final player on the bench. But it doesn't really matter. The third player on the bench on a free hit team doesn't really matter that much, because usually you're going to have enough players in the starting lineup to not really care about that third spot anyway. So I tend to pick the cheapest possible player for that spot. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the free hit draft. Personally, I own 6 out of these 15 players currently. Might be 7, might be 8 after I do my transfers, as we'll look into right now actually. So let's go into my current plans for my own team, which is the final thing to talk about in this video. So yeah, these are my current plans and my current team in game week 16. I have 2.3 million in the bank. I have 2 free transfers after using 0 transfers last time around. The one transfer that I'm going to do guaranteed is Ollie Watkins out for Isak. Watkins actually got like slightly injured in that Champions League game, had to be subbed off at the half. I was going to sell him anyway, and Isak is such an obvious player to pick up this game week, especially seeing as I have the money quite easily. I'm going to sell Watkins and actually earn money from the transfer. So yeah, I'm going to do that transfer basically no matter what. But Outside of that, I need to address my defense because I do have Ait-Nouri playing as Ipswich at home, but that's basically the only defender that I have that I'm certain is going to be decent this game week. So apart from that, I have Gabriel against Everton, which would be really nice if I know that he's going to start, but I can't really know that for sure. He wasn't even in the squad in the Champions League for Arsenal. That's going to be a tough game, or that's going to be a tough game for Gabriel to be fit for, basically. So I can't really trust him starting, and if he doesn't start, I have Greaves against Wolves away, Mykolenko against Arsenal away, and Lewis doesn't even play either. So most likely I just have two defenders if Greaves and Lewis are out, because Lewis is out with the red card that I got last time around. So I really need at least one defender because I don't want to rely on... I need at least one defender to be sure that I have at least three starting this game week. And the most likely transfer I'm going to look at currently is Jacob Greaves out, because I want to get rid of him. I don't really want to get rid of Mykolenko and Lewis. I'll get to that eventually. But Greaves out for Jurriën Timber, because I think Timber is going to play. He came on for Arsenal in the Champions League, played like 30 minutes. I think that bodes well for him starting in the league as well. And I also really like the Arsenal fixtures for the next 3 game weeks, especially when it comes to clean sheets. So I think Timber is going to be a really nice pick in general. I'm also potentially considering bringing in Trent Alexander-Arnold, but seeing as he is quite a bit more expensive, I'm not sure if I want to do that. If I want to cap my flexibility in the future, that's going to make it tougher to get Nicholas Jackson eventually, potentially. If I want to do that, it's going to make it especially hard, or probably impossible, to get Saka at some point currently, because that's one of the downsides to my team currently. I can't really prioritize Saka this game week. I don't really have the money to either. I could do like a Lewis to Kirkus type of move and doing like a -4 to bring in Saka for Fernandes, but honestly, I don't really think it's worth it either. Arsenal are playing against teams that are pretty good defensively, but not that good offensively the next 3 game weeks. So yeah, I don't really think it's too bad to go against Saka currently. But obviously, he is a player that was the number 4 pick for me in the wildcard draft. So if I had a wildcard, I would definitely have Saka. But I don't really have the luxury of bringing him in, because I have other issues to attend to with Watkins going out and securing a playable defense in this game week, basically. So yeah, Saka will have to wait for a future game week potentially if I bring him in at all. But with that in mind, I'm probably looking more to get Timber, especially because I also want Nicholas Jackson potentially in for Cunha in game week 18 or 19. So with all that in mind, I think Timber is just a better pick for me than Trent, even though I quite like Trent's high upside, especially with the good fixture set they have, and also the double game week coming up, potentially game week 24 for Liverpool. That's something that I want to get to eventually. But speaking of that double game week 24, that's also when I want to keep Mykolenko for. I think Mykolenko is a really nice long-term pick. Currently, he's playing really tough teams, so he's not really the best pick, but he's been really good for me since I brought him in on the wildcard. He got 11 points in game week 14, for example, which was really helpful for me off the bench. So I quite like Mykolenko, especially once the fixtures clear up for Everton. So don't really want to sell him. And I don't really want to sell Lewis either, because he's going to get really good fixtures pretty soon. And I think, hopefully, at least in terms of FPL value and the fun of the game, basically, I hope Man City get it going again. For the league, I'm actually quite happy that they're struggling, because I think it's fun to have new teams winning the league finally. But yeah, I don't really want to sell Lewis, because I think he's going to play 90 minutes still, pretty much most matches, or 70 plus minutes at least, most matches for Man City, and they're actually getting some pretty good fixtures pretty soon. So I don't really want to sell Lewis, and I'm really unhappy that he got a red card, because I really would want to use him this game week as well and not worry about the defense. But yeah, I don't really want to sell Lewis, and I can't really do Greaves to Trent. I can do Mykolenko to Trent, but I don't really want to sell Mykolenko either, because I want him for that double game week eventually, and I think it's really good value for the long-term future. So yeah, I think Timber just makes more sense for my team. I think I want that Arsenal defense. I want to root for Arsenal keeping a clean sheet, I guess, with Gabriel and Timber, and then not scoring too many goals with Saka not getting too many points offensively. That's what I'm going to hope for. That's what I'm going to hope for with Arsenal. So I think that's currently what I'm leaning towards with my plans. But Trent is very tempting, especially with the double game week in mind. But I could also just get him eventually in this team as well. I don't need him immediately, and I want to keep that flexibility just in case I need it for future game weeks. So yeah, those are basically my plans. I talked about the captaincy decision between Salah and Palmer in the free hit selection of this video, so you can check down in the timeline. I'm going to link to that captaincy discussion there. That's basically it for the team, I think, and don't really think there's any like starting decisions, maybe between Bruno Fernandes against City or Rodgers against Nottingham Forest, but yeah, I just don't have that much faith in Rodgers and Aston Villa away against Nottingham Forest. I think that's a pretty tough game. They are going to set up quite defensively, and Aston Villa are kind of exhausted after playing so many matches. This could finally be the game week where Rodgers gets to be on the bench to start the game. So yeah, I think I prefer Fernandes. I don't think he's the worst play this game week either. I think the Manchester derby could actually be quite high scoring because both teams seem to concede a lot of goals. Both teams are kind of there for the taking, and both teams are kind of trying to change like a bad spell of game weeks in a row now as well. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I don't really mind keeping Fernandes and Bowen, especially the next few game weeks. I think they're pretty good assets to have. So yeah, I quite like my team in general. Also, the strikers that I have, Cunha and Joao Pedro, haven't been quite disappointing in the last few game weeks, but I'm not really too worried about that. They have really good fixtures this game week. So yeah, pretty happy to have them starting as well in general with this team. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the team. I have Sanchez in goal. I'm going to start him over Fabianski. I think that makes sense against Brentford at home, even though Brentford scored quite a lot of goals, and Sanchez is probably going to concede again because that's what he does every single time for me. But at least I'm hoping he doesn't get a yellow card, so I have a starting goalkeeper, and I don't have to be getting another player suspended for me like I did with Lewis currently. So yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts for this game week. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you come back for more on this channel and subscribe, like I previously said in the video. And with that out of the way, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.